What's going on, y'all? This is Fred Johnson coming back at you today with some more teacher tips, sharing from my years of teaching experience, a little bit of wisdom and things I picked up along the way. So in the last couple of videos, I shared about what day 1 and day 2 looks like in the classroom. Today I'm going to talk about what I do on day 3 of the school year. So again, I said I went to a training called Capturing Kids' Hearts. That's where I learned the name game. So this one also comes from Capturing Kids' Hearts, and it's called the 1-minute speech. So what happens is each student gets to come up in front of the room and speak for 1 minute, which sounds terrifying. And I know when I was a student, I would have been terrified to do so. But I will say after the fact, it always turns out to be a positive. And in 11 years of doing this, on the first week of school, I only had about 4 or 5 students total who refused to get up there. So the way I inform them the first couple days, so it's not a surprise when they get there on day 3. And I also let them know they're not being graded on how well they speak, on their speaking abilities or presentation abilities. They get 100% if they get up in front of the room and they talk about anything for a minute. So on the day of, I make sure I have some type of podium or something in front of the room. I have some questions pre-laid out. They don't have to use those questions, but I tell them if you're like, I have no idea what to talk about, you just got to go up there and answer the questions. And then I explain that no matter how good or how bad the speech was, best speech you've ever heard or worst speech you've ever heard, at the end of it, everyone gives a huge round of applause, and they get into that. It's really fun. So you designated a timer and or have a timer up on the screen, because if students go over 60 seconds, you're going to be doing this for a long time. So then I'll go first. So after I explain kind of the ground rules, you can talk about whatever you want as long as it's positive and appropriate. If you don't know what to talk about, just read and answer the questions that are on the podium. And then I start, so I'll go first. And then as soon as I'm done, I hit that 60-minute mark. We start the applause. All right, awesome job. And then I say I'll take volunteers. So I say, does anybody want to go first? And there's always 4 or 5 kids generally that want to just get it done and get out of the way. Sometimes 1 or 2 they're like, I'm fired up to give a speech. 2 or 3 that are like, I just want to get it done. So the first kid goes, and then at the 60-second mark, round of applause. Sometimes I ask 1 or 2 follow-up questions. If they don't make it to 60 seconds, they get to about 40, 30, 40, 50, and they're struggling, I'll just ask them follow-up questions. And then I pick the next kid and the next kid until we're out of volunteers, and then I just start going down the list and choosing students to go. I tell them if they're afraid to get up in front of the room by themselves, they can bring a buddy. And often having a buddy up there for that emotional support kind of gets them through. But I tell the buddy they're not allowed to talk or make gestures. They're just up there to kind of be an emotional support. I've found it to be really fun. You learn some really cool stuff about students. And it also kind of levels the playing field, because, you know, whether a student is quiet or super loud and obnoxious, it's difficult for almost every kid to get up in front of the room and give a speech. So it kind of removes that tough guy factor from students, because you get to see them be a little bit vulnerable at the beginning of the year. In the list of questions, I ask things like, what's your name, where are you from, where were you born, what's the furthest place you've ever traveled, how many brothers and sisters do you have, what's your favorite kind of food, what are your hopes and dreams and ambitions, and I have about 10 or 15 of those questions ready to go. And then if they don't get to that minute, I'll just ask follow-up questions based on those. So there's always a couple kids that want to just talk about something else, and that's fine. But generally those questions serve really, really well. If we finish that during the class period, great. And then if not, I'll try and just do 1 or 2 a day. Rather than having it dominate the future class periods, we'll just kind of do 1 a day for the next week till we get to everybody. It's super fun getting to know the kids that way. They get to know each other, and you build and create the environments. You have to create an environment of positivity and encouragement, and they will follow that lead. They always did for me. So thanks for watching. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Have fun, and if you haven't, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Have a great one.